Hello everybody. This video is called Why Old School Paganism is Hard. I got a lot of notes here. Um, Everyone today is a neo-paganism, and this comes from Isaac Bonowitz. He was talking about how we cannot follow paganism as it was 2,000 years ago. We are from a different time period. So we are the new time period, thus we are neo-paganism. All right. So much of the old paganism was lost and destroyed. Unfortunately, with the spread of Christianity and their military concepts, a lot of paganism was destroyed through war, and there was just so few people that were practicing it that we lost a lot of what we believed. We can never piece together 100% accurate version of any of the different pagan belief systems from 2,000 plus years ago. It is just not possible unless we had a time machine. And because of that, everyone has their own unique religion, their own unique belief system. Because we are forced to take what we think, what we gather, and form it together to be our own belief system. But the same is true for Christianity and Islam. These two religions have a lot of various books and full of different verses, and each one of them views certain aspects differently. So just as I and the pagan 10 miles down the road will not see things the same thing is true for two Christians in the same house. Each one will view like a certain Bible verse more important than the other. They might think the Old Testament is not important, whereas the other one will think that it's very important to reference. And so we have our own unique religious beliefs, and it's not bad at all. We have had many people add to paganism over the years, and they have added some very false concepts. Robert Graves comes to mind on this. You see, there have been a lot of revivals. The UK had a Druidic revival, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but Iomo. Oh well. Anyway, he created symbols and he wrote down things, and he said, well, this is accurate. This is what they believed at that time period. I think it would have been about 1,000 years ago. And it was a lie. It was a fabrication. And the problem is this stuff was believed, and then it became part of paganism, because the people from that time period viewed what was just created and what was back then one and the same. And we unfortunately have that happening, throughout history and to today as well. This is one of the issues that I do have with eclectic Wicca, and that is because they're coming up with a lot of stuff, and they're saying it's all pagan when a lot of it really isn't. It doesn't have the history that paganism has. All religions must evolve to survive. So old school paganism is actually an oxymoron. Because taking something that is so old and saying that's practiced today is not feasible. We have learned so much in science where we have been able to disprove and validate aspects of paganism. And so we have to have our beliefs fit into what we learn as we mature in relationship with the earth. Some people will say that nothing's been validated. There have been many things that have been validated, mostly with the herbs. So many herbs were used for certain ailments and illnesses. Well, we have been finding out with current technology that a lot of this is accurate, and thus validating what the wise ones were saying. Helena Blavatsky, Theosophy, and many others, shaped modern paganism by bringing aspects of other religions into Europe. Helena Blavatsky has been known to go into India and in that area, plus in other Eastern Asian areas. And she has studied various religions, and then she had brought them back to Europe and has written many books. There was many theosophy groups in Europe, and this has trickled into paganism because the old archaic definition of paganism was, if it's not Abrahamic, it's pagan. It's the traditional Christian duality, either it is or it isn't. And so people who were looking for paganism were seeing these things and saying, well, this isn't Christianity, thus it must be pagan. And you see, the bad thing about it, there were a lot of people always wanting to go and study the old ways, to practice the ways of our ancestors. But these people had to rebuild paganism in secret, in hiding, because there was the burning times and there were the witch laws all over the world, so they had to always be careful in what they said and did. And, they didn't have the internet like we have today, where we, put in a couple of keywords and we can find out, oh, well, that's interesting. And so these people also had to grab anything and everything and try to form it together to form what we conceive as paganism today. I mean, even Gerald Gardner did this. He could not break his oath to his coven. So all that he learned from the coven that he was a part of could not go into the Wicca that he was promoting outside of the coven, which I thought was quite interesting. I thought about this last week. Because of his oath, what Gerald Gardner practiced in his coven is not what was in Wicca. It was something different, because he could not break his coven oaths, or he would have been an oath breaker. So how does that make you feel, knowing that what Gerald practiced and what Gerald promoted in Wicca in some ways were two different entities altogether? That kind of made me wonder about, well, what about his real personal beliefs? Because Gerald Gardner had to borrow from high-end magic systems and all that, and like guys talk about Hindu beliefs and such, to form Wicca, because he could not take from the coven. So we're left sifting through everything and hoping to find something that works and makes sense. Like I said, we can go through the internet, we can read books here, there, everywhere. We all have our books. I got probably about 50, 60 books that I researched from. And we got to sort through there and find out, well, this works, this makes sense. But we also got to make sure that we figure out, well, this is at opposition with this, so which one do we get rid of? There is a lot of sorting that has to be done. So we must be educated enough to remove aspects that aren't pagan. Now, I know I sound like I'm always hard on the eclectic Wiccans, and I'm sorry about that. But there are so many New Age concepts that are thrown in to paganism and accepted as pagan when they historically aren't. Such as with the Oracle decks. Now, I've been watching a lot of videos, and I've seen videos of people trying to teach how to work with the Halloween-themed Oracle deck. It's not even said Samhain. Ugh. But this is a New Age concept. This is something that, our ancestors or people from 5 generations ago, 2 generations ago, did not use. And so, if we're wanting to find something that is as close to nature, we're adding pop culture into it, and it's just not working. Balance and reason must prevail. Some aspects might not be pleasant, but they're there for a reason, to teach a lesson or to guide us on our path. The biggest danger that I see from grabbing from other religions, other belief systems, is that 2 things might not look the greatest, and so we're going to check them out. But we forget that life is not always sugar-coated and sweet. There are hard lessons that we have to learn through life. And so if we go through and omit all these things that we don't like, are we throwing away the hard life lessons? Are we making the path of paganism into everything that's bright, color-coded, sugary, and all that? Unrealistic to nature? And so we have to think. This reminds me of the tale of Yellowstone Park. Many years ago, many decades ago actually, they removed all the wolves from Yellowstone Park, and this ruined the ecosystem. Because there was no primary carnivore, the deer grew. And, well, the deer overate, and the deer were destroying saplings and trees, and they were changing the water, how other plants and animals lived, and thus it was just changing everything. And so recently, they reintroduced the wolves back to Yellowstone, and that changed everything. Beavers came back to Yellowstone, because with the deer gone, saplings could grow, and what do beavers eat? They eat trees. They eat the saplings. And so that changed the water flow, because the beavers were there to make the dams. And so this is the lesson. You don't want the mean, the nasty, and all that, but you need it. It's not what you want in life, it's what you need in life. That is the biggest lesson. And so balance and reason must prevail. So that is all I'm going to say today. Everybody take care, be at peace, and please leave your opinions below. I read every single one of them.